From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Vidalia onion producers were banking on a big season.
It's a big capital investment. You know, we purchased this seed in June and July of the year before.
See if that investment is paying off. As crews in Baltimore make progress clearing a key port for moving ag equipment, as China faces a new round of tariffs.
I don't think the Chinese will, obviously the Chinese won't be happy about this, but I also don't think that they're going to be totally surprised either.
What is and what isn't on the list right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when the name on the cap matches the power of one's purpose. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Ag trade taking center stage as Mexico makes a big buy of U.S. corn while China faces more U.S. tariffs. Let's start with that big corn buy. USDA announcing a flash sale to Mexico of just under 16 million bushels, with most of it being new crop corn. And President Biden announcing the U.S. is increasing tariffs on $18 billion of Chinese imports. Those increases applying to steel and aluminum, legacy semiconductors, electric vehicles, battery components, solar cells, cranes, and medical products. Those new tariff rates going into effect over the next 2 years. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me. Michelle, one key industry was not named in the tariff rate increases.
Clinton, the good news is there were no agricultural products included in the Biden administration's import tariff list for China, and U.S. farm groups aren't expecting any retaliation. The bad news is the action further damages the U.S.-China trading relationship. The $18 billion of Chinese import levies follows a review of tariffs imposed by former President Trump and aims to prevent undercutting of U.S. investment spurred by Biden's policies. Tariffs will quadruple this year to 100% on EVs, double to 50% on solar cells and semiconductors, and triple to 25% on steel, aluminum, large batteries, and critical minerals. Beijing has criticized the move, accusing Washington of attempting to smear and suppress their economy. However, farm groups don't believe there will be backlash for agriculture.
And there are no food or agriculture products on the list. And as such, we don't anticipate retaliation by China against soy or other agriculture products because this is a pretty targeted list of products. I don't think the Chinese will, obviously the Chinese won't be happy about this, but I also don't think that they're going to be totally surprised either.
Left off the list was used cooking oil, despite the National Oilseed Processors Association pushing for a nearly 16% levy, as Chinese exports of processed animal and vegetable fats and oils to the U.S. have more than tripled to over $200 million in the first 3 months of this year. However, Sensky says soybean producers did not ask for tariffs.
So we're concerned, but at the same time, we were not pushing in any way, shape, or form for used cooking oil to be included on the retaliation list, because I think doing so, could put soybean tariffs back in the mix, and that's not something that we would support at all.
Sensky says they're also concerned the move will further deteriorate an already strained trading relationship between the U.S. and China. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. We're following a developing story out of Florida. A deadly crash involving a bus carrying farm workers in the Ocala area. Rescue crews say 8 people have died, 45 others were injured, including 8 in critical condition. Florida Highway Patrol says 2 vehicles apparently sideswiped one another on West Highway 40. After the collision, the bus went off the road, through a fence, and overturned. It's reported the workers were on their way to a watermelon farm. Also from the Gulf Coast, there's concern about flooding. The area seeing heavy rains and winds, which are impacting several crops. Amy Kiley has an update.
Heavy downpours and flooding continue to plague parts of the U.S. Today, a deadly storm system is pushing through the Gulf Coast. These New Orleans area residents have sandbags ready after filling them yesterday.
People like to go by too fast, and it pushes water up in my garage in the house, so we put sandbags out in front to keep that from happening.
Even some places that are dry today have lingering weather problems.
Water I just saw water, acres and acres of water.
About an hour east of Nashville, some farmers say their crops are suffering.
Everything we do relies on Mother Nature, and sometimes she's not so cooperative.
One issue is fruit with flood damage. Another is wheat that strong winds have flattened. The farmers say the damage could affect U.S. food availability.
What's happened so devastating, you see this wheat standing here, and then on the side over here you see where it's blown down. You see it's nearly on the ground.
In Iowa, the Farmers Union says it welcomes rain after years of drought, but storms have put production behind schedule.
We've had about 3.5 inches over the last 2 weeks, so we've been out 17 days.
On top of the rain, high temperature records could be broken in portions of Florida and Texas. Meteorologist Ben Engelbrecht joins us with more.
We continue to look at kind of that long-term pattern. It's been warmer than average, but towards the end of May and into June, I'll start to get kind of that separation between the cooler and warmer air in and across the United States. And what this says is a more zonal flow, that jet stream kind of hanging out from west to east with not a lot of ups and downs. So that's going to keep a pocket of some cooler than average temperatures back up in the Dakotas and also into Montana. And then to the south of where that jet stream sets up, that's where we get those above average conditions. And then right in the middle, not only are we expecting around average temperatures, which should put us around the 70s or so, but also rainfall. The severe weather threat remains relatively low in this kind of pattern, but you start to get the movement of rain from west to east. The other way to look at this, and again, they're coming up towards the end of May. The next 7 days, take a look at your screen. It's mainly into the south and the southeast, which is where we've been discussing the last couple of days, going back to last week. A lot of rainfall back into Texas, Louisiana, and the southeast. And Doug putting some of that older equipment on the farm to good use. Here he is with his dad's 3020, which was new in get this, 67. And he's using it to plant sweet corn in Ohio. Great to see. And it looks like great weather for it as well. Yeah, look at that. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Workers have begun to remove the Baltimore bridge that collapsed on a cargo ship. The ship had been sitting stagnant for nearly 7 weeks. It veered off course and struck a pillar on the bridge, plunging the bridge into the river. Now, 6 construction workers died, with the final victim just being recovered from the water last week. Officials say efforts are on track to fully reopen a deep draft channel by the end of the month. The port is a major hub for imports of agricultural equipment. Now, despite that big buy of corn, grain markets were in negative territory on Tuesday. Livestock markets, however, were in the green. We have details next. And some people plan shopping trips around the arrival of Vidalia onions in the store. See if this year's harvest in Georgia measures up. One of California's biggest ag companies is filing suit against a state law that was seen as a way to make it easier for farm workers to unionize. The lawsuit comes from the Wonderful Company. The $6 billion company has several recognizable brands, including Halo's Mandarins and Palm Wonderful Pomegranate Juice. It claims the 2022 California law is unconstitutional. That law replaces voting for a union at polling places and instead allows for employees to organize if half sign an authorization card. The lawsuit comes 2 months after the United Farm Workers became a collective bargaining representative for employees at Wonderful's Grapevine Nursery in Kern County. The big corn buy from Mexico didn't help corn prices on Tuesday, but livestock saw plenty of green. Michelle Rook is back with an update ahead of Wednesday's trades in markets now.
Grain setting back on Tuesday. Brian Doherty is with us with analysis. And Brian, the grains had a pretty good rally recently, so it was kind of time for a little bit of a correction, wasn't it?
Mostly yeah, on the idea just overbought conditions and pushing prices up to some small resistance levels. In addition, farmer selling picked up quite significantly. We've talked to a lot of farmers who took advantage of this and moved some corn. They've been waiting for a long time. Some of these futures contracts in corn in particular trading at their highest price levels since early January and getting close to where they they broke off from their sideways range at the end of the year. So a real nice recovery in the marketplace, wet conditions keeping planting at a minimal pace at this point, supportive on the big picture, but for now, maybe not enough as farmers are really going to push hard to get things done in a hurry.
Fred, was there also some concern about these China tariffs, maybe some retaliation or anything like that?
I think that concern is perceptive in nature. We didn't really see anything in the egg sector that would have us concerned yet. There was a lot of talk and hope that there might be some sort of action against imported cooking oils from China. That didn't wasn't the case. So there may be some apprehension there, and maybe that's enough right now without any additional supportive news to keep prices moving. I think the money flow is really important to watch. We've been watching fund money move out of the short side of the grains now for several weeks in a row. And when you kind of look at the world, there's just enough uncertainty in a lot of spots right now that the market rally has been well supported.
Yeah. The other news that hit the market, Brazil crop estimates came out, and instead of going down, they actually went up for corn and beans, didn't they?
Well, they did, and so the market's going to take that with a grain of salt because some of those estimates may be up in the air based on flooding conditions and concerns. Acreage increase was kind of rumored out there for a long time. We saw CONAB confirm that a little bit. So the net of it between acreage increase and then flooding issues and potentially 3 million metric tons of bean crop in that ballpark that may not be harvested and logistically hard to move. There's still a net drawdown, but now we'll have to see if the USDA decides to kind of get on board with that.
Thanks so much, Brian Doherty with Total Farm Marketing, and we'll have more AgDay coming up.
Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
Yeah, one thing that we're going to hear a lot about is, of course, the Canadian wildfires and the smoke from those wildfires. So what I have here is kind of a look at how things are going to unfold. Last year, you remember, it's a lot more expansive, but we're already starting to see that smoke trickle down into the United States. Now, this is Wednesday afternoon and into our Wednesday night. Most of that smoke staying up through Wisconsin, northern Michigan, the UP, as well as in Wisconsin and Minnesota. As we go into your Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, this is mainly going to be concentrating into Michigan and Wisconsin, but also back up to the north and to the northeast through Canada, as this is going to be kind of a zonal flow with that smoke staying more to the north, moving west to east. Again, that's a look at what we got with the wildfire smoke. If we add in some of the precipitation, the rain the next couple of days, we'll start off on Wednesday, mainly short waves coming through. Not expecting much in the way of deep troughs, but this is Thursday at 2 o'clock in the morning. A line of showers that are going to be moving from the west to the east. And as we go into late stages of Friday morning, this is that other problem area that we were talking about. This is storm number 2 or 3 that is going to bring buckets of water through Houston, Texas, and Louisiana, and moving off to the east with that next system. We looked at it a little bit ago in terms of that pattern, a zonal pattern setting up across the United States. That's going to come into late May. By Saturday and Sunday, start to see a shallow trough trying to dig up here to the north and to the northwest, but I don't expect much in the way of problems as a ridge tries to develop Saturday night and into Sunday through Texas, Oklahoma, a little bit into the Midwest. That should keep any of that trough energy more to the north rather than breaking down here to the south. And we're going to actually see that in the jet stream. You know, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. In terms of storm systems, rather weak energy, but any kind of weak energy combined with moisture from the Gulf of Mexico turns into flooding potential, heavy rainfall. You got a bit of a bowling ball look to the jet stream by Friday and Saturday. That's going to be lifting up to the north and to the northeast with that next trough trying to dig in from the south. But remember, the strength of this ridge will determine how far north that trough stays. Right along that's where you have the cooler air, but you also have some moisture associated with it as well. Start off 94 degrees, Miami, Florida, partly cloudy, low of about 81 degrees. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, sunny, high of 87, low of 65. What about Idaho? Mostly sunny, high of 80 degrees.
A well-known name in the grocery store when it comes to pork could soon be up for sale. Details next. And later, these aren't just any onions. We check out what could turn out to be a terrific harvest for Vidalia onions in Georgia. Kraft Heinz is looking into possibly selling its Oscar Mayer meats business. The report first coming from the Wall Street Journal. It says Kraft Heinz has asked Bank of America and Centerview Partners to gauge interest in a possible sale. The deal could be worth between $3 billion and $5 billion. But the report also says it's possible no sale is made. Reuters says Oscar Mayer has seen declining demand recently as consumers shift to healthier options. Now, Oscar Mayer is known for hot dogs, bacon, ham, and bologna products. What is the state of the pork industry right now? Farm Journal's Pork Business diving into that recently. Editor Jennifer Scheich meeting with some pork industry leaders by looking back at what was learned last year. Now, for the director of swine production for the Equity, Brandy Cooker, says the non-negotiables for this year are in people's development and biosecurity. Brad Eckberg, a business analyst with Meta Farms, agreed with that.
Having the right people and a healthy pig, I think, is kind of what that means ultimately for myself. From the best opportunity to have a profit opportunity, and especially after a really tough financial year in 2023, as producers are coming out of that year, they're looking at how do I make money and how do I make more money. I think again, pigs and people are definitely the foundation of that.
You can hear more of Jennifer's roundtable discussion with pig industry leaders by heading over to Farm Journal's YouTube page. Now, Georgia is the leader when it comes to one tasty kind of onion, and harvest time has arrived. See what's coming up for Vidalia onions in the country. They can help top off your favorite burger or add a bit of sweetness to soups and salads. Vidalia onion harvest is going on right now in Georgia. And as John Holcomb of the Georgia Farm Monitor tells us, this year's crop is more than a product for growers.
Down in Vidalia onion country in southeast Georgia, growers, packers, and shippers are hard at work harvesting this year's crop of sweet Vidalia onions and getting them sent to stores across the country. As always, it's a time of year growers are excited to see, especially after a great year like this one.
This growing season was, from back in the day, more normal. We actually had a pretty cold winter. Over the couple of years ago, we seem to be having a lot more warmer. December around Christmas time and January's. We almost like it when it's really cold in like January and February, because when we transplant, we want them to stay dormant and not grow too much too early. That allows the quality of the onion to be a lot better when you kind of plant it and let it cut root and just kind of do its thing and not really get too much foliage from the soil temperature being too warm. So this year was pretty well good at that. We had a lot of adequate rainfall. In a lot of ways, we didn't irrigate very much this year. We'd almost be ready to, and it would come enough rain to keep us from doing it, which was a blessing that we conserved a lot more water. But we've been blessed with good stands.
Reiner says that they've harvested a little more than half of their crop so far this season, and says that this year the crop is turning out to be a great one, which is just what growers need after a rough couple of growing seasons.
It's a big capital investment. We purchased this seed in June and July of the year before, and that's a big investment. And then we have a lot of labor to plant that's close to the end of the year. And once we ship these onions and get sales, we don't receive that money till the retailer pays us, which is usually about 30 days. So there's a big amount of time that we have to, a lot of expense and debt that we have to hold for several months. And that's stressful enough in a good economy, but when you add the bad economy to it, it makes the stress levels a lot harder on the farmers.
And according to Reiner, demand for Vidalia onions has continued to grow year after year, as he says more and more people have begun to recognize the value in their product, which of course is nothing but great news for growers.
Everybody that we talk to is very interested in the Vidalia onion. Sweet onion sales in general have increased every year because of the more people eating at home since COVID. We have had a lot of interest from retailers, other production regions that they get onions from in other parts of the year have struggled with crops, and so with our crop looking good, there's been a lot of interest in the Vidalia onions, and we're excited about that.
Reporting in Glenville for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
And our thanks to John Holcomb of the Georgia Farm Monitor for sharing that story with us. Can't wait to see those onions in stores. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.